14-year-old, almost 15-year-old daughter took one single dose of the drug 25I. She was actually peer pressured into it. She had declined it twice. She was too afraid. I found out afterwards. I found her at a playground before she had a reaction to the drug. She was with a new crowd, and it was something that I had no experience with, and I had no idea what it was until after we were med-flighted to MGH, and I discovered through her friends and through social media that this was the drug that she took. She was at MGH for 3 weeks before she succumbed to organ failure, multiple organ failure. And so she turned 15 in the hospital. And since then, we've been building this awareness campaign. And so Emily, Megan, I'm very proud to introduce as one of Emily's most cherished friends in life and since. And I am so proud of the tireless work that Megan has put together of this awareness campaign of the dangers of this drug. I'm incredibly proud and honored to be part of her extraordinary endeavor towards this Gold Star Award. And I'd like you to please give a warm welcome to Megan now.
So, I'm going to tell you about 25I, which is fatally and detrimentally affecting the young people in our community, the country, and all over the world. Okay. 25I is a very potent psychedelic drug. It's not similar to other well-known drugs such as marijuana. It's a hallucinogenic and similar to LSD, but so much more powerful. It imitates a natural substance, but it has such very different mechanisms. It's fairly new, but it's starting to make its mark, starting with middle school age children. NBOMe, also known as 25I-NBOMe, also known as SMILES, is a derivative of a research chemical 2CI, which was developed in 2003 by a postdoc, Ralph Heem, at the FRE University of Berlin in Germany. He was researching a potential PET tracer to observe metabolic process in the body. Its original use was to measure the serotonin receptor, or the feel-good transmitter, from a group of drugs called phenethylamines. Heem tested it on rats, and due to the death rate, he deemed it toxic and poisonous to humans because of its extreme potency and potential lethality. The effects on the rats were that the serotonin was binding too strong, which means it can't get easily washed from your brain. And the effects on humans is that there's extended hallucinations, which could last for up to a year and a half or 2 years later. There was one woman who reported to having these hallucinations for almost 2 years after taking it the last time. So what a PEA is that it's a natural compound and a stimulant used to increase the dopamine levels by inhibiting dopamine transmitters in the brain. PEA drugs are used to treat ADHD and types of depression, and it's an agonist of 5-HT2A receptor. Serotonin is a transmitter in the brain signaling manipulated for treating that depression. 25I is not a natural substance, unlike what its original use was for. And I apologize for writing treat instead of treat. 5-HT2A receptor initiates the physiological response and has to do with the central nervous system contributing to the feelings of happiness, sending false interpretations of happiness. 9 of those PEA-derived drugs were in the U.S., including 25 all variations, were illegal in 2012 because of its potency. Some other names for 25I are 25C, 25B, Genome, New Nexus, Solaris, Dime, and Smiles. And, oh boy, oopsies. And on the left right here, this is LSD, but this right here is 25I, and just looking at them, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. So other forms it could be sold as are on blotter paper or a powder as nasal drips or just as a liquid. And it's also known as the yellow glowing liquid because in this picture right here, just in normal lighting, it's showing it's glowing bright yellow. The way that it's packaged is in tin foil, wrapped around several times, because if it touches your skin, it'll start to soak in and you will start to hallucinate. So what people usually do is they quickly put it on their tongue, and so that it wouldn't lose any of the effects that you would get from that. But it's so potent that you can't touch it on your skin without it either burning through your skin or you just or permeating. Its popularity flourished on the online forums. The dealers try to pass it off as a legit pharmaceutical sometimes from China or India or other countries in that area. They compare it to LSD, calling it the trip of a lifetime, and the manufacturers in China make the drug without regulations and sell it overseas for a huge profit. I went on one of those drug blogs, and all I saw was positivity, saying, "Oh, this is the best thing. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me," when it's such a bad thing. It's 1,000 times more potent than LSD, and 1 in 3 people who take it die from it. So say that 3 of you over here take it. 1, 2, 3, you die from it. 1, 2, 3, you die. 1, 2, etc. It keeps going on and on and on. And the only way to be able to stop that people from dying from it is to criminalize it and make it illegal and keep it away from anywhere. Because, excuse me, sorry. So, yeah, the only way to stop people from dying from it is to just get rid of it completely, which is going to be very difficult because the chemical makeup of it, if one single molecule or one single atom is changed, it changes the drug completely. It makes it a new drug. So if 25I was criminalized and a factory was shut down for producing it, one change in a single atom could make a whole new drug, and it wouldn't be on the list of criminalized drugs anymore. And that's how. Thank you, Brian. The dealers make their own versions in the labs and import it from other countries, and they say it's safe or legal and natural whenever it's just a synthetic drug and it could fatally affect your life. It mimics the drugs of the 60s because right here it looks like LSD that someone would take at Woodstock or something. Although the appearance is similar, the effects are very different. 25I stops cell function and production of all your vital organs, and a scientist from the Irwin Labs once said that a grain of 25I-NBOMe could mean the difference between life or death. There was a girl from Michigan, her name was Tara. She was on a documentary that aired, I think, a couple months ago, and she took it once, and all of her organs just completely failed, and she was with one of her friends in her basement. She actually, as I was watching this, she kind of reminded me of Emily a little bit, not just because of what happened to her, but because they like the same things. And so what happened with Tara is that she bought it, and she was told that it was LSD, whenever it really wasn't, because synthetic drugs in the drug market, they don't sell very well. They're known as cheap or not going to have the same effect or not as great as an effect as it would originally. But because she thought it was LSD and she died from it, her dealer was arrested for murder. because he didn't tell her completely what it was. And the batches of 25I are extremely irregular. On a blotter paper, there could be a whole bunch of tabs. The one on the top right could be okay, and you would only get small hallucinations, but the one on the right could completely just shut down your organs. You would die instantly. But the one right below it, you could have what happened to Emily. She would be put into she would get the effects of what happened to her, and you'd be put in the hospital, and you could get better. You could die from it. Okay, so the reality is that the potency is just so much higher than LSD or any other drug that I've ever heard of. It will have an extreme effect on anyone who takes it, no matter what their drug or alcohol resistance is. Natural LSD will not physically cause death. I have not heard of any physical deaths from an overdose from LSD, but since 25I is a chemically produced drug, it is highly lethal. If you take one hit of it, you never really know what you're taking. And in this picture, you can see it's targeted towards young people, because over here it says Dr. Feelgood, and then there's the Camel cigarette logo, and then Time Out, or all of that. It looks very intriguing, and to get people to buy it, to see what what the reaction could be from it. And some of the effects of it are, the mental effects are visual and hearing hallucinations, confusion, disorientation, paranoia, aggression, insomnia. But the physical effects, it's such a much greater list, and I couldn't even write down all of them. Some of them are shaking, nausea, muscle spasms, high white blood cell count, rapid heart rate, extremely high fever, seizures, involuntary flailing and thrashing of your limbs, complete organ failure, heart attack, rapid eye spasms, etc., etc., etc. There's also foaming at the mouth, which happened to Emily. And then so many people have died from this. There have been many cases of young people overdosing from even a drop of this drug. As of 2016, there have been dozens of teenage deaths due to just one ingestion of 25I. This is Alex Ryan. He's from Cork, Ireland. He was 18 years old when he died. He was at a party with 5 other people. A neighbor heard really loud music and got very annoyed by that, so they went over to complain. And when they looked into the window, there were all 6 of the kids were on the ground. There was blood everywhere. One kid was seizing in the back, foaming at the mouth. And Erin actually went on the radio to talk to the newscast in Ireland. She didn't go to Ireland, but they phone called her. And his parents were listening because they had no idea what he took or what happened to him, really. He was rushed to the hospital, and he was in critical condition until his life support was turned off. And patients at the hospital, some of his organs were okay, and they actually benefited from his organs. Rest in peace, Alex. This is Preston Bridge. He was 16 years old when he died. He was my age. He came home from Australia. No, he didn't come home from Australia. He was from Australia, and he died in 2013 after a school dance at a party. And he thought he took LSD whenever he didn't. And his father actually went to his father right here. He was on 60 Minutes, and he actually went to one of those manufacturing companies in China, and he saw how easy it was made and how they're making thousands and thousands of pounds of this drug and selling it overseas for a huge profit. and it can easily come into any of these countries, such as the U.S. or Australia or anywhere around here, because they can't check every single package that comes in to countries. His father realized how cheap it was to make and manufacture it and send it in undetected. And so he's been trying to shut down these companies. And this is my friend Emily. She had plenty of chances to try it. She was asked 2 times and declined, but she accepted the 3rd time. She had a new friend, and that one night on May 31st, they decided to sneak out because they were celebrating her friend's birthday. And her and her friend tried a $5 dose of this drug. Her friend is still alive. She didn't have any of the same effects that Emily did. Luckily, Erin woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Excuse me, and so luckily, Erin woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and saw that they weren't there, and so she went out and looked for them. She found them at a playground, and she picked them up. On the way back, Emily was saying how sorry she was and that she wouldn't do it again. And she said, I promise I won't do it again, I swear. It was just a mistake, I'm sorry. And as soon as they got back to the house, Emily started to say things so inaudibly. She started rambling about random things, and Erin couldn't decipher what she was saying. And then she started flailing her arms and legs. She was hitting her arms against the wall so hard that they could break, and she started seizing and foaming at the mouth. And then Erin had no idea what to do. All she could do was call 911 and wait. She was sent to the local hospital, and then she was airlifted to Mass General Hospital in Boston. And then she remained there for 3 weeks. I remember when I heard about this, I didn't think it was as bad as it really was. Because at first, all I heard was that she was in the hospital because she took something. I was like, all I thought was, oh, she'll be okay. It's just a drug. No drug is ever so bad that you can take an overdose, that you can overdose from it just from one small dose. And then when I went in there, I saw her. She was hooked up to, I don't know, maybe 10 machines. She had something making her blood flow, something helping her breathe, helping her liver function, helping her kidneys stay alive. And it was tough to go in there and see her like that. And sorry, I'm just gonna put that down. And she, her skin was gray and yellow, and she didn't really look human. And I only got a chance to see her twice before she died, and I remember texting Erin, asking if I can go see her again, and she said, no, I'm sorry. She caught something from the hospital, and no one's allowed to go see her except for me and my mom and maybe JP, which is her husband. And I never had a chance to say goodbye to her, and I just don't want anything that happened to Emily to happen to anyone else. I think that's it, but I'm just going to double check. Her life cost her $5 for a thing that was this big. And she thought that she thought that what she was gonna do wasn't gonna affect anyone or anything, but that it was wrong. And those 2 times that she declined it, she heard that little voice inside of her head saying, "Don't do it, Emily. It's not what Mom would want. It's not what anyone else would want. Something bad could happen from it." But she ignored it the 3rd time. And so whenever people are told not to do that, they think they're invincible and, oh, that can never happen to me. It won't happen to anyone I know. But I remember sitting in the auditorium whenever someone would say, "Don't do drugs because something bad will happen." I sat there next to Emily and thought, that won't happen to me. That won't happen to any of my friends. And whenever parents say, "Don't do that," they're not trying to ruin their kids' lives. They're trying to keep them from danger, and they're afraid of losing them. My childhood best friend, it was gone just after a small thing. A big part of my childhood, from the time I was in 3rd grade until the time I was a freshman in high school, one of my best friends is not there anymore. And every day I think about how different it would be if she didn't take it, or if she had recovered in the hospital. Because whenever I went to go visit her in the hospital, I said to Erin, when she gets better, we can take walks around the hospital, and I can take her to the restaurants up the street, and then maybe next year we can go to Boston Calling together. I never know what would have happened if she'd stayed alive. Maybe she'd be standing, maybe you'd be able to see her standing right here next to me. And talking about what it was like to take it, but you never know. So, thank you. And does anyone have any questions? No, you can't buy this at a store. You can buy it online, actually, and they'll ship it right to your house. And you could also buy it on the street. I'm not sure where the person she got it from got it, but you could definitely get it off the street or online.
I saw that program that you referred to earlier where the young lady died also. And they did prosecute individuals that supplied the drug. Does that happen in this case, or do we know where it came from?
Oh no, they didn't do. I don't think they did too much with this case or anything at all. I do remember hearing about who gave it to her. The girl who gave it to her was 13 years old. And she was in 8th grade, and Emily was a freshman. Anyone else? These pictures over here, these are in the little thing that we gave you. Just talking about maybe in a simplified version of what it is, and some statistics about people taking it. And then, unfortunately, we have a walk on the same day as the Family Fun Day on June 11th. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, maybe. It's Saturday, June 11th, and it starts at 10 a.m. I know that the walk probably starts really early at around maybe 7. I'm not sure exactly what time, but okay.
There was one more question.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, how popular is this right now out there with these young kids? Like, obviously, weed is very popular and all this other stuff. How much of this is actually out there? How much popularity? How much is this gaining traction right now with our youngsters?
A lot of people don't really know what it is or take it unknowingly, thinking that it's LSD, and so I don't think is.
So this just shows for 2014 the percentage of 8th graders, 10th graders, and 12th graders taking hallucinogenics and or LSD in their lifetime, in the past year, in the past month. So it's that's probably a rough number, not an exact number. As far as what we can tell on the web, on the drug blogs, where kids will find out and they actually describe their trips and in detail, and what to mix and what not to mix and what to do in preparation for trips. It seems like it's gaining more and more traction because it's so easily accessible, because it's not classified, it's not a scheduled drug. The Judiciary Committee has until May 2nd to deliberate until they hopefully finally schedule the drug for Massachusetts, but it's not a criminalized drug, so it's very easily passed from town to town, very easily passed from state to state, and actually is easily passed over the nation's borders because it's not detected by drug sniffing dogs or anything like that, because it's not a scented drug. So it's gaining traction. If anything, the use is increasing.
Well, there's definitely a buzz out there. This is the newest, latest, and greatest thing to try out, and the kids are just
right, because the actual trip that the kids describe is much more intense than what would be described from an LSD trip.
You had mentioned that if you go online, you can, there's all kinds of talk online. Did anybody go on there and, say, well, this happened to all these children who are dying? So to make, anyone who's going on there thinking that they can buy this, that, there's a real danger here.
So the Arrowheads Lab that or website that Megan mentioned has actually changed its tune to not be a pro-drug website, to more be a warning website for the actual dangers and the potential for fatalities, and list the fatalities, whether it be fatalities from overdose or fatalities from actions due to taking the drug, such as feeling like you can fly. Some kids will jump off a building. There's been stories of kids running into trees hundreds of times and crushing their skulls and dying from that. That's been a trend that's emerging. So it's actually a new trend. It's when Emily was in the hospital, the trend was all about what's the greatest part about the high and the trip. Any other questions? Thanks. Thank you very much. I'd like to present Joe. You want to get in the picture?
It was quite a touching and informative program today, and certainly